Tonight, Bank of Ghana expected to announce a 15 billion Ghana cedis loss for 2025, with the NDC majority already in overdrive, attempting to explain away the loss as cost for stabilizing the Ghanaian economy.
The bank reported a net cost, or to some people, loss for 2025 of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis compared to a loss of 9.4 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. It is not and was never intended to be a profit maximization institution.
Well, we have details plus speak to the minority on this loss, which will largely be attributable to the central bank's domestic gold purchase program. Here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension Trust into the future. With you, this is live from Joy 99.7, live on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, and on ATL 100.5 in Cape Coast. Well, tonight, the Bank of Ghana is expected to announce a 15 billion cedi loss for the 2025 financial year. That is according to the majority in Parliament, who have been speaking to the central bank's financial position even before the official publication. When it becomes official, it will be the second largest loss since 2008. The figure represents a 68% jump from the 9.4 billion cedis recorded in 2024. But even before the official report is released, the majority in Parliament is stepping in to defend the bank, blaming the loss on open market operations, foreign exchange pressures, and the domestic gold purchase program. Finance Committee member Appiah has been speaking at a news conference in Parliament. Listen to him.
The bank reported a net cost, or to some people, loss for 2025 of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis compared to a loss of 9.4 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. Other comprehensive income recorded a charge of 19.32 billion, reflecting the impact of a stronger cedi on the cedi value of the bank foreign reserves. I'll take time and explain them. The net equity position of the bank stood at negative 61.3 billion as at the end of 2024, down from a positive 1.2 billion compared to a negative equity of 35 billion as at the end of 2025. Cumulatively bringing the net equity position of the bank to about 96.3 billion. This simply means that as at the time President Mahama assumed office, the total negative equity position of Bank of Ghana was 61.3 billion. Meanwhile, as at 2021, we had a positive net equity of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. These numbers reflect the cost of work that was done.
Appiah is a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament on the majority side. Now, my colleague James Aveji was at this news conference earlier and joins me in studio with more details. James, the majority says the gold purchase program contributed largely to the loss. How?
Exactly. So, according to the press statement, the figure quoted by the majority as the cost of the gold purchase program for the 2025 financial year is at a little over 9 billion Ghana cedis. And so they are of the view that if you take out that 9 billion Ghana cedis from the total loss that the Bank of Ghana is declaring, the figure could have been better off than what we have. In fact, if you look at the statement, they mention that going into next year or this 2026, where the gold purchase program is not going to sit on the books of the Bank of Ghana but move from the BoG to be managed fully by the gold board, that some of those costs would have moved from the sheet of the Bank of Ghana to the from the Bank of Ghana to the gold board itself. And so they say that over 9 billion Ghana cedis is also a contributing factor to the over 15 billion Ghana cedis loss as declared by the BoG.
Secondly, the cost of building reserves through the gold purchase program. The accounting cost of the gold purchase program stood at 5.7 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 to 9 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. The program accumulated approximately 111 tons of gold in 2025, up from less than a ton in 2021. The gold itself has not been lost. The reserves are real. Let me now take you into the details of the gold purchase program and its impact over the years. In 2022, the total number of volumes that the Bank of Ghana acquired was 3.4 tons of gold with a value of $194 million. And the cost of achieving that was 74 million Ghana cedis. In 2023, we achieved 37.02 tons of gold at a cost of $1,554 million United States dollars, and we spent $1,372 million Ghana cedis. In 2024, we achieved 54.47 tons of gold, and we spent $4 billion United States dollars and spent $5 billion in terms of cost to achieving that. In 2025, we moved the purchases from 54.7 tons to 111 tons. So it generated cumulatively 11 billion United States dollars, and we only spent 9 billion Ghana cedis.
Now, the majority also says they've been speaking on a lot more about this particular loss. Now, they argue that the loss is, in actual sense, the cost of stabilizing the Ghanaian economy.
Exactly, Brace. So, according to them, as we speak, inflation rate, which is currently at 3.2%, up from over 20% in December 2024, now reduced to 3.2%. Lending rate now is about some 17%, as per the Bank of Ghana's figures. And the current stability of the cedi we've enjoyed in the last 15 months.
They said the lending rate is averagely around 17.
Yes, according to
the majority.
To the majority, because the BoG's policy rate is now at 14% from 27% in 2024 to now 14% in March 2026. And so the lending rate usually is more than the policy rate, which is now at 17%. All of that together with the stability of the cedi we've enjoyed as a result of some of these sacrifices the Bank of Ghana did in the loss they declared. Had it not been for that, the lending rate should have been up, the policy rate should have been up, the inflation rate should have also been up, according to the analysis they've been making this afternoon.
The costs you see in the financial statements are the cost of producing the outcomes that you are living through currently. The institutions carried them on its books. The country received the benefits. The Bank of Ghana had to absorb the cost, but the country, you and I, are all benefiting from that. Why the cost? Three things drove the headline cost in 2025, and each one is measurable. First, the cost of fighting inflation. To bring inflation down, the bank had to absorb excess money from the banking industry by issuing short-term bills and paying interest on them. The cost rose from about 8.6 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 to 16.7 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. The bigger you spend, the bigger your results. And that's why we moved inflation from 23.4% to about 3.2%. In 2024, with a smaller spend, inflation barely moved. In 2025, with a larger spend, inflation fell by 18 percentage points. The cost was real, and the result was real as well.
So that is the majority making their point today. We've been joined by Kojo. He's a minority spokesperson on the economy, and also Appiah, a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, grateful for joining us here. I'll come back to you, but let me just wrap something in the studio with a member of our research desk, Caleb Ziblim, who's joining us to put some matters. Now, Caleb, how significant is the Bank of Ghana's loss according to the majority?
Yes, Brace. So we've been tracking the Bank of Ghana's financials since 2008.
Okay.
So that's after the cedi redenomination. So from 2008 to 2025, and if we are to take the figures put out by the majority to be the facts, this is going to be the second highest loss that the Bank of Ghana has recorded. Now, the highest loss was in 2022, where the bank recorded 60.8 billion cedis in losses. That was at the height of Ghana's economic crisis. Now, in 2025, the bank recorded a loss of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. So that was the second highest loss that was recorded. And in fact, from 2024 to 2025, the loss has increased by over 60%. So in 2024, the loss was 9.3 billion Ghana cedis. And in 2026, the loss has now increased by over 60% to 15.6 billion Ghana cedis.
So 2024 figure was how many?
From 9.3 billion in 2024
Okay.
to 15.6 billion in 2025.
Okay.
Again, that's the second highest loss since 2008.
Okay. Now, the majority claims the Bank of Ghana is attributing the loss to open market operations and the gold purchase program. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so from the bank's point of view, the major driver of inflation last year was because there was excess liquidity on the market. That's to say that there was a lot of CDs in the market. So for the bank to reduce inflation, they decided to target the excess liquidity. And by doing that, the bank effectively took out money from the central banks. And when they take money from the central banks, they hold it and then they pay the central banks interest. So this is a very basic understanding of open market operations. So the interest that was paid to the central banks for keeping their money was about 16.7 billion Ghana cedis. So the Bank of Ghana incurred a cost of 16.7 billion Ghana cedis by holding funds from the central banks to reduce inflation. And the bank attributes this significant open market operation as to the reason we are seeing inflation rate at now 3%, give or take. So the first major cost item for the bank was open market operation, which cost the bank 16.7 billion Ghana cedis. That rose from 8.6 billion in 2024. So that's almost double in 2025. Again, the next big cost item for the bank was the domestic gold purchase program. And this is what the bank does in partnership with now Gold Board. Now, the cost of the program in 2025, according to the majority, was 5.7 billion Ghana cedis. Sorry, in 2024. That cost rose up to 9 billion in 2025. So the cost of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program in 2025 was 9 billion Ghana cedis. That's the loss incurred. Okay. And we've discussed this extensively because the Ghana Gold Board buys gold from miners at spot price or sometimes as premium. And when they sell the gold on its international market, they make a loss because Ghana's gold is not bought as spot or premium. They buy it at discount. So that difference is the 9 billion we are seeing here, according to the majority. Okay. And then finally, some foreign exchange losses also contributed to that. And the majority put the foreign exchange losses at 19.3 billion. So all these together is what caused the Bank of Ghana to lose by about 15 billion Ghana cedis.
Okay, do stay with me in the studio. Let me now go onto the phone lines and bring in Kojo, who is minority spokesperson on the economy. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us. Now, you are someone who really have followed this economy and how it's performing. The argument that the loss the Bank of Ghana has incurred is the cost of stabilizing the economy, which is making people comfortable. Isn't that a cost that should justify, or an explanation that should justify the loss?
Kojo, good evening to you and to your listeners. I want to start by making the point that you have played extensively what the majority has said at their press conference. I pray that you give the minority equal amount of time to respond before we get into any debate. First, I need you to clarify for me, has Joy News cited the Bank of Ghana accounts as published?
No, we haven't cited it.
So what has happened is that the Bank of Ghana accounts have not been published, but the majority has been invited to do a press conference, ostensibly to try and shape people's minds before the accounts themselves are published. That should tell you that they are in an exercise of propaganda and PR, trying to hide the real facts from the Ghanaian people. What is happening is that yesterday's whistleblowers have become today's defenders. The cosmetics with which they've been managing things are beginning to wear off. And what is left now is a government side that is defending the things that they complained about when they were in opposition. Now, in 2023, the Bank of Ghana made a loss of 10 billion Ghana cedis. Today's majority, the then minority, were those who, among other things, went on demonstration, calling for the head of Governor Addison at the time, calling on him to resign, I think if I recall correctly, within 21 days. And later, the then candidate who became president said that and other practices in the economy amounted to criminal mismanagement of the economy. I'm quoting his words. Today, they have made a loss of 15 billion Ghana cedis after they promised Ghanaians to give them power, they will do better. They've made a loss of 15 billion Ghana cedis. And instead of releasing the account so that everybody can read, they choose to hide the accounts and get the majority to do a press conference to spin it and try to explain it away. Now, you will recall that a number of things happened during the year. One, the minority kept drawing attention to the method that this government was using in its attempt to achieve a certain inflation number. They wanted to achieve a number and show to Ghanaians that they have done better. So they adopted a measure called sterilization, heavy sterilization. We have been speaking about it from 2025, and at a point they were even insulting our intelligence that we don't understand economics. And we kept saying that the extent of the sterilization they were doing will amount to huge costs on the Bank of Ghana. And that if they continue with sterilization, they can even achieve inflation of 0%. But the cost on the Bank of Ghana will be unbearable, and it did not also mean that the cost of living was going to go down. They rejected our argument, literally called us names, only today to turn around and say that the sterilization through open market operations is one of the largest contributors to their loss. You will recall again that we warned that the change in gold purchase policy from buying from the large-scale miners to now using the gold board was incurring losses which they were passing on to the Bank of Ghana. The IMF even highlighted some numbers in their document. And we even called for a parliamentary inquiry to go into the details and quickly put in place remediation measures. Because of politics, they refused to do that investigation. What's more, they moved that cost from Gold Board's books onto Bank of Ghana books and caused Gold Board yesterday quickly to publish their accounts and declare profit of 900 million. You see today the Bank of Ghana documents, which they haven't released, but they are now spinning a political narrative about. They are even now admitting that the cost of the gold transaction is 9 billion Ghana cedis. Take that out and go and net it off what the Gold Board has announced as profit, and you will see the real impact of what has gone on there. They now want to argue that the work that the Bank of Ghana does contributes to what they call policy or economic costs. I want to refer you to Professor John Gyasi in 2024, when the Bank of Ghana said that the sterilization or the open market operation costs that they had incurred, what they are now saying that small costs, small results. When the Bank of Ghana then explained that that sterilization was part of the loss, the NDC's chief advisor on the economy, Professor John Gyasi, who now sits on the Bank of Ghana Advisory Committee, he said every loss is a loss, and that unless they're able to show it is a one-off item, Ghanaians should not take them seriously when they explain it as a policy or economic loss. Today, they are using the same words verbatim. But you see, the problem about the policy or economic loss argument is that if every year you are making policy or economic losses, it's not a one-off item. And what is now happening is that then any state-owned enterprise can make losses on the commercial transactions they are supposed to do, and they tell you that they are doing some economic good for the public. Does that make sense to you?
Well, but Kojo, sorry, but if you look at what they've been able to achieve, where majority of the people are saying that inflation is down, we are okay with it. Exchange rate is stable, we can plan with it. Is their cost not justified than what happened during your time?
So when the Bank of Ghana, through its open market operations, lost money and brought inflation down from 53% to 20-something percent, was that justified or not? Principle is principle. We have said time and time again that they should be honest and candid with the fact. They are the ones who have tried every time to scam the people of Ghana with some different narrative. If they had admitted at the time that that loss, mostly because of the open market operations of the central bank, to bring inflation down from 53% to 23% was justified, they will be in a good position to make that argument today. They rejected it then. Why should that argument be accepted today? The Ghanaian people should see, as I mentioned, the scam that the NDC is perpetrating. They say one thing, when they have the opportunity, they try to change the language as though they are doing something new. And I draw your attention to the fact that 10 billion was condemnable. I don't know what they will say about 15 billion. But what is even worse, The amount of sterilization they did in 2025, which has led to this loss, already, if you compare year on year, they are doing more sterilization than that. Why? So that they can keep the inflation number at 3-point-something%. And if they continue at the same rate, they are going to make more than 20 billion loss by the end of 2026.
Okay.
We say these things with pain. When we do this modeling and we tell the Ghanaian people that this thing they are doing, this is the consequence. Initially, they will attack us and insult us, but we are being proven right every step of the way. Now they are saying that the gold board transaction costs, they will no longer put it on the Bank of Ghana. And that if you take that 9 billion, you see yesterday they were saying that they've made profits, everybody should clap for them. Now Bank of Ghana is telling you, though they haven't released the results, and they are letting the majority do the propaganda for them before the results come out. Bank of Ghana is now telling you that 9 billion of their costs were gold purchase program transaction-related costs.
Okay. All right.
Now they are saying they will no longer do it. So if that goes now to sit on the gold board books, where are we going to be?
All right.
So we need to approach these things with a lot more humility and candor, a lot more honesty. Why? So that together we can plot a path forward on how to do these things in the future without incurring such costs.
I'm grateful to you. Do stay with me. Let me bring in Appiah, who is a Finance Committee Member of Parliament. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, first off, we have not seen this report. Can you educate us on why you, the majority, are the one letting us know? And again, isn't the minority also making a point about, they warned you about, they said how the Bank of Ghana incurred the cost in their time was because of trying to stabilize the inflation. You said no, but this time your argument is that, well, we've bettered the economy and therefore you should understand that. Don't they have a point there?
All right. So let me say good evening to you and to your listeners and to my colleague, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah. I think that the minority have still not learned how the operations of Bank of Ghana works. And I'll begin with this. The final accounts of Bank of Ghana is not declared published, only when it is published on the website of the Bank of Ghana. The supervisory ministry, which is the Ministry of Finance, accounts and submitted to the board for final approval. It is sent to the Ministry of Finance. It is from the Ministry of Finance that they will now go ahead and publish. But I can assure him that if you go to the website of the Bank of Ghana after the interview, he will have access to the publish on their website. And of course, he has sources in the Ministry of Finance. He can also do a quick check. But we have gotten this audited financial statement of the Bank of Ghana, and I can share with you the details. But coming to the substance of the matter, are we meant to understand that tightening monetary fiscal policy tightening in order to bring inflation down is wrong? If that is the case, why did the MPP government in 2024, through their monetary policy tightening to bring down inflation, injected 8.6 billion lost or cost to the country? 8.6 billion. Yet we are saying that you look at the mandate of the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana has 4 primary mandates, and it's important we don't lose sight of that. It is not a profit-making entity. The mandate of the Bank of Ghana, as enshrined in the Bank of Ghana's Act and even under the PFM Act, it says that they are supposed to maintain price stability. And what do we use to maintain price stability? Is the inflation is the metric that we use to determine price stability. Then the second one is to ensure stability of the financial system. Then they are also supposed to manage the foreign reserves of this country and support the overall economic stability of this nation. When you look at all these cardinal mandates and objectives of the Bank of Ghana, the outlook for 2025 as presented in the financial statement of Bank of Ghana has met all the objectives.
But since when did you come to this realization? Because last time when they gave this explanation, you said no, and that cannot be the reason.
Look, I'm coming to the reason. I'm saying that the objectives, if you are going to measure the performance of the Bank of Ghana, you measure it against its objectives, not against a commercial company. Now, let's look at the objectives very well. If you look at 2024, despite making a loss of almost 10 billion Ghana cedis, and then moving the equity position of Bank of Ghana from a positive 1.25 billion in 2021 to 61.3 billion Ghana cedis in 2024, they left the inflation at 23.8%. The cedi depreciated by 19%. We had public debt ballooning by 61%. We had 2.5 million Ghanaians wallowing in poverty, according to the multi-poverty dimension. We also had haircuts of people, pensioners, despite all the injection and the monetary policy that was implemented by the Bank of Ghana in 2024, leading to a total net equity position of 61 billion. It led us to these macro numbers in 2024. So we are saying that the cost on the book of Bank of Ghana, vis-a-vis its impact on the average life of the Ghanaian populace, what is the opportunity cost of that? My brother is asking about trying to bring the inflation down from 23.8% to 5.4% or 3-point-something% because of sterilization. But what we always forget is that for inflation rate to be stable, it has an implication that the woman buying tomatoes at the market is buying the goods at lower rate or slower pace at which the price used to increase in the basket. It means that food prices are more stable and not increasing drastically like we saw under the MPP. In fact, in 2022, inflation peaked at 54%, highest in the history of this country. For a family that we used to see an annual increase in school fees of parents at an average of 28%, they are now seeing an increase at a much lower rate in fees and also electricity, hospital costs, and the rest. You may poo-poo the impact, but the average Ghanaian is seeing it. Don't ever let somebody deceive you that when you are trying to stabilize your currency, which is part of the mandate of the Bank of Ghana, it is wrong.
But don't you agree with him that because
he made mention of the new policy that the government...
No, can he be with me? Don't you agree with him that because you all know that the Bank of Ghana's objective is to stabilize the economy, they will do so at some losses. And therefore, when it comes, all of you must be humble about it, must be open about it, so that together we can ensure that Bank of Ghana is playing its role, than playing the usual politics you do with it?
Yes, of course. I am of the view that I am comforted with what the Bank of Ghana seeks to do moving forward. Because if you have a lower inflation, means it's a relief at the market and petrol stations. So that is also the good side of it. And then stability of our forex. Part of the reason why we are seeing this cost or the loss, and I will draw my senior brother's attention to that, it is because when you have a strengthened currency, the accounting effect of a stronger cedi, normally when your cedi strengthens, the cedi value of your dollars, the gold, and other foreign reserves at the bank or the bank holds goes down naturally. The dollar themselves might not change. In fact, if you look at the foreign reserves of this country, we have moved from 9.1 billion in 2024 to 30.8 billion. Yet, we are incurring a loss as a result of the appreciation of the cedi by 19.32 billion. Why is this so? Because if you are holding $100 million as a reserve, at that time, your rate was 14 Ghana cedis. Ghana's functional currency and presentation currency is the Ghanaian cedi. When you are presenting your accounts in Ghana, you use Ghana cedi. To convert that dollar-denominated reserve into Ghana cedi, you convert it at higher 17 Ghana cedi, for example. Actually, when you are now going to convert it today at 11 Ghana cedis, that 6% difference, that's all the exchange gain, becomes a loss because the cedi value of the dollar-denominated assets and reserves will all naturally go down. But moving forward, under the gold purchase program, you and I, you've seen the audited accounts that have been published by the Gold Board, showing a tremendous performance in revenue. But that is not the issue. Honorable Kojo and I, at the Finance Committee, this matter was brought to us, the Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Accumulation Policy. Parliament passed it on the 26th February 2026. And the strategy is that we are going to use Ghana's own gold to build foreign reserve and turn it into a national law with a sustainable institutional framework. That was in the memorandum. Under the new policy, off-takers pre-finance the program, and the Ministry of Finance allocates budget for it. So the financing structure that produced the accounting cost in 2025 is replaced in a sense that Bank of Ghana will no longer give money to Gold Board to purchase gold. In fact, what accounted for the 9 billion, it is what we call exchange differential.
But Appiah, if you believe so much in that work, why did you turn down the minority's request for an audit into that so that the country can come to a conclusion that no wrong has been done and everything has been done right for the benefit of the people?
Rate is the exchange differential, and that accounts for the 9 billion. I just want that to be put on record. So moving forward, it becomes a relief. Also, inflation is relatively stable. We don't need to pump more money in order to absorb excess liquidity into the system to do what again, because the inflation, the expectation of, according to the 2026 budget, we expect to keep inflation between the 6 to 10% inflation.
Okay,
band.
so
us, and I'm sure
can you hear me? Hello, Appiah with me. So are you saying that you're not going to spend again to keep the inflation where it is? Is that it?
No, no, that is not the intention of government.
What did you say?
This year. The intention of government, we are already saying that currently we are doing 3.2%. What we'll let the market forces determine. But whatever the situation is, government is trying to maintain the inflation between the 6 to 8% inflation band.
So did you say you are not going to spend to keep it at where it is?
Yeah, what it simply means, Bank of Ghana is not going to use the open market operation through issuance of securities into the market to mop up excess cash. That is not the objective of government for this year. So if you look at 2026 moving forward, and I'm online, I can say that next year you will see the accumulation of gold purchase program that resulted in 9 billion Ghana cedis debt. You will also see a lot of about 16.7 billion that was spent in bringing the inflation to a stable level. And you will see a lot of these other comprehensive income that shows the exchange rate effect and the movement as a result of whole appreciation of our cedi.
So, Kojo, here the majority says Bank of Ghana will not spend in keeping the inflation low. Your thoughts?
For 2026.
Hello, Mr. Bray.
Yeah, Kojo, I'm with you, sir.
As I mentioned earlier, you've played their soundbite. They've said all that they will say. What you should be doing is giving us time to respond, not going back to them to try and rehash their points. First of all, he talks about Gold Board profit. What he didn't tell you was that Gold Board, hidden in their books, is the fact that they owe 3.7 billion Ghana cedis to the Bank of Ghana. This after they have passed on the cost to the Bank of Ghana, contributing to about 9 billion Ghana cedis of the gold-related cost of the Bank of Ghana, which is part of the numbers that they are hiding yet doing propaganda about, that they've made a loss of 15 billion. And if they had nothing to hide, what stopped them from bringing all of those documents to Parliament for us to go through line by line? Secondly, they want us to applaud them that there has been value. You know, one of the most important elements of value that people look out for, jobs and incomes. Check the youth unemployment rate for 2024. I think it was about 22% or thereabout. And check the media rate for 2025 that was put out by the Statistical Service. It's gone up. So you are spending more money, making more losses, and youth unemployment is going up. Let your data desk check that data for you. By the way, what is now the negative equity position of the Bank of Ghana? After all this gymnastics, has a negative equity position come down, or has it gotten worse after all the gymnastics and the grammar? We are not those who have said that mopping up excess liquidity in the economy is unaccepted. They are the ones who said it in 2024 because they wanted power. And today they are trying to explain it away. We have not said that the Bank of Ghana is profit-oriented. They are the ones who responded when the Bank of Ghana said in 2024 that they are not profit-oriented. They are the ones who said that doesn't matter. A loss is a loss. So why do they not have the humility? And I'll end on the point of humility. Because you see, in governing a country, you make choices. Those choices come at costs. If you do not have the humility to even listen and understand the consequences of your choice, you'll be trapped by your own words. It will do the government side a lot of good if they will come to the table with humility to admit that we got it wrong. And the warnings that you gave us have manifested. You were proffering some ideas. We want to sit down and listen. This rush to hide everything, give it a new name, and now say that they won't incur the gold transaction costs on the books of Bank of Ghana next year. I can tell you, we know where they are going to hide it. When we get into the full analysis of this after our press conference next week, we will show you where they are going to hide it again. Because that structure they have put in place will forever be a loss-making structure. and somebody will have to bear the cost. So they only move the cost from Bank of Ghana and go and hide it somewhere else. But we will once again expose that as well. If they say that 2026, you will not see 16 billion cost of open market operation. You know, the last time we were on your network, they were disputing sterilization and claiming that there was not sterilization going on. I'm telling you on authority that this year they are even doing more than they were doing in 2025. And if they do not stop and they continue at this rate, they will end 2026 at around 20 billion Ghana cedis loss. They should have the humility to sit at the table, stop the propaganda, and let us share with them the lessons we have learned so that they can serve Ghana better in this short time that they have.
I'm grateful to you, Kojo Ponkromai's minority spokesperson on the economy. Ataisa is a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, and that's how we wrap up top story. Up next is Newsnight.
And tonight, government to replace the damaged facility at the Akosombo Gridco substation with a modern control room. We have details as President Mahama tours the facility that was ravaged by fire.
But of course, I hear it's been there since 1964. So they say in adversity is opportunity, because now that this adversity has happened, it gives us an opportunity to replace with it a more modern control room that will serve this Akosombo plant.
We have details as the Energy Minister John Jinapo announces that the 5th generation unit has now been fixed and back on stream.
Also tonight, the CEO of Gold Board pushes back against critics over the diamond mine takeover as engineers and planners makes a bold move, selling 100% of its first gold output to the government to boost Ghana's gold reserves.
This is also a vindication for those of us who made all manner of mischief about the legitimate acquisition of this diamond mine by EMP.
National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat NIMOS arrests foreman of an illegal mining site as Achim Mosso, who claims he's a Pentecost church elder. We speak to NIMOS.
Coming up in business.
Majority in Parliament reveals Bank of Ghana's net equity position improves marginally to hit 35 billion Ghana cedis for last year, as is also going to report an operational loss of 15.6 billion cedis.
In sports,
government receives over $2 million from corporate entities as it intensifies efforts to raise funds for the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
And a bit later, Ghana Education Service blacklists all teachers and supervisors linked to the 2025 BEC malpractice scandal as it intensifies its crackdown on examination irregularities. We have details as more than 600,000 candidates are said to write this year's external exams. The latest of these and many other stories are coming up shortly. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma Appiah.
Send us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. Details after this.
Auntie T, I beg, fix me go betete Ghana. No gari, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, brah, that be dangerous combination, no.
Problem no day. I feel handle am.
For Telecel, with the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, if you get your own data and call packages, falla! Made For Me bundles like the way you want them. That *530# then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me down my dog with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Did you know that Ghana's Children's Act, Section 91, clearly says,
no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor.
That means children must not be made to do work that deprives them of their education, health, or development.
Hazardous work?
That is not allowed. Working in stone quarries, carrying heavy loads as kayaye, hawking on busy streets in the scorching sun, being used as domestic servants in homes, or diving into dangerous waters to untangle nets, rowing canoes for hours under the hot sun, and working all day without food or rest.
Yet, too many of our children are trafficked from towns and villages across Ghana to the shores of the Volta Lake, trapped in fishing boats, robbed of their childhood, and exposed to danger every single day.
Human trafficking means the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or trading of persons within and across national borders for purposes of exploitative labor.
I want to go to school, but now I only work.
This is child trafficking.
It is a crime.
It is against the law, and it must stop now.
Parents, guardians, community leaders, protect our children.
Report suspicious movement of children and do not give your child away to strangers promising jobs.
Together, let's end child trafficking now.
This message is brought to you by the International Justice Mission with support from the National Commission for Civic Education.
Enjoy homemade taste of shito always with Didi Shito. Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. That's how we taste. Spicy we eat.
Didi Shito, if you need. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, my name is Lexus Bell, and EcoBank is revalidating customer information for mobile app transactions to improve safety and convenient access. Customers are encouraged to confirm their mobile app details by texting or calling 0500,000 247 now to remain active. The voice you just heard wasn't mine, it was AI. And if you fell for it then, like play, you could have just been scammed. EcoBank will never call, email, send an SMS asking for your PIN, OTP, bank card, or Ghana card details. Pay attention to the details.
EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Good evening. President Mahama says government will replace the damaged facility at the Akosombo Gridco substation with a modern control room. During his visit to the Akosombo Dam and substation, the president remarked that the fire which destroyed the Gridco facility offers Ghana a chance to construct a more advanced control room that will serve the country well into the future.
He commended engineers from the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, and the Volta River Authority for working around the clock to restore the 4 affected generating units, urging them to continue their efforts to bring the remaining 2 units into operation.
I told the minister I was coming here to see for myself the work you had done. He's briefed me. You have 4 of the turbines back on. He says that you're working another miracle and that I'll get good news soon with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done. We encourage you to continue to work. Gridco and VRA, both of you, you are among the foremost twins of the same mother, Gridco and VRA. And we know that you continue to work, and every support government can give you will continue to give.
You had President John Mahama, Presidential Affairs Correspondent Maxwell Agbagba joins us with more. Maxwell, paint a picture for us on what you saw at the site today.
We'll try to connect Maxwell on the line, but in the meantime, let's bring you more from that particular press or tour that was attended by President John Mahama and the Energy Minister, President Mahama once again.
We heard about the sad event, the fire outbreak in your control room. Ghanaians have felt the impact of what happened. You worked hard, but it's not surprising because I'm not surprised that you have the kind of quality of human resource to be able to ameliorate what happened. And so when I heard that, our engineers say they're going to find a way of bringing it back on, I wasn't surprised. So I want to thank you for the sacrifice. This is an act of God. I mean, who would have expected that the control room would develop this kind of fire? But of course, I hear it's been there since 1964. So they say in adversity is opportunity. Because now that this adversity has happened, it makes it, gives us an opportunity to replace with it a more modern control room that will serve this Akosombo plant and let it work for more generations yet unborn.
That's President John Mahama there. We've also been hearing from the Energy Minister, John Jinapo.
They are expecting that the fifth unit will come. As we speak, generation is meeting demand, but we need that redundancy. So they are working to get the 2 units back as soon as possible, so that we can have that redundancy. After that, we'll then move to do an emergency control center. So you need a control system. What they've done is to use innovation to generate the power.
Apologies for the poor quality in sound there. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba followed the president and the energy minister to the Akosombo substation and is joining us on the telephone lines with more. Maxwell, due to the poor nature of the sound from the energy minister, can you rehash exactly what he said?
Well, he has been talking about plans to build a state-of-the-art control center equipped with the latest technology. The new facility, he says, will be designed with a compartmentalized structure, ensuring that if a fire occurs in one section, the other sections will automatically shut down to contain the damage and prevent further spread. Now, this advanced setup will significantly enhance safety and reliability as well. He also spoke about how the engineers of Gridco and VRA worked around the clock to bring back the generating units back on stream. And he said that there have been a lot of commendations coming in. One of them, MTN Ghana, he said, has promised the engineers 1 million Ghana cedis worth of credit as a form of appreciation for working quickly around the clock to bring the generating units back on stream.
And Maxwell, we heard that in recognition of the exceptional dedication and national service personnel who contributed to the recovery efforts was offered automatic employment after her national service. What exactly did she do? Give us some details.
Yes, so it was a lot of commendation from President Mahama and the energy minister, a lot of commendations for the engineers who worked day and night. And the energy minister talked about one of the nights when he visited one inspection at the substation to see how work was ongoing to bring back the generating units back to operations. That was when she saw this national service person. He didn't know that she's a national service person. He says he saw her in one of the tunnels pulling out, wires. It was during his interaction that he realized that she is actually a national service person. So she was highly commended in the presence of the president, and the president recommended that she should be given automatic employment after her national service.
Well done to her. Thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba is our presidential affairs correspondent.
Kwaku, we have details or updates on the work going in Akosombo with the 5th generation units in Akosombo now back on stream. Kwaku Asante, what do we know?
Yes, we are getting some more update from the energy minister. He went there with the president today. And we know that we have about 6 units. And that is what the government says is causing the intermittent power outages we are recording. And so far, we knew that as of this morning, 4 units were on stream. And as of the last 1 hour, the engineers have been able to bring back the 5th unit, which is leaving the one other unit outstanding before power supply will stabilize. So let me read this post from the energy minister. It says, a while ago, the 5th unit at Akosombo was successfully commissioned and is now fully operational. The startup was carried out smoothly, demonstrating effective teamwork and coordination. This brings an important boost to energy generation capacity and will contribute to a more stable and reliable power supply. So if all this is anything to go by, Ken's house at Agbliza in Teshi will get light in the coming days.
Kweku, I keep telling you that that's not where I stay, but thank you. Well, away from that, though, the chief executive officer of Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, has firmly responded to critics following the successful takeover of the Diamond mine by engineers and planners. He describes the company's decision to sell 100% of its maiden gold production to the government through Gold Board as a clear vindication of its capacity, credibility, and commitment to the national development.
Speaking at a brief ceremony in Accra to officially hand over the gold, Mr. Jemfi maintained that the move not only strengthens Ghana's gold reserves, but also sends a powerful signal about the growing impact of indigenous mining firms.
This is also a vindication for those of us who made all manner of mischief about the legitimate acquisition of this diamond mine by EMP. I mean, this is your vindication right here. We've never seen anything like this on the part of any major large-scale mining company. And that is not to spite them. Of course, they are not Ghanaians, so you know they don't need a Ghana city. Yeah. But when you have a Ghanaian at the helm of affairs of a large-scale mining company, he's okay if the Bank of Ghana and the Gold Board says, sell your gold to us, we'll pay Ghana cedis. We are not paying dollars for this. We are paying cedis, and the gold will stay here. And then we can sell the gold for dollars, or we can keep the gold in our reserves. And generations after generations will come and benefit.
He further noted that the initiative by engineers and planners represents a critical boost for Ghana's economy, with the potential to shore up reserves and improve key economic indicators.
We are getting 110 kilograms of gold from Diamond Gold Mine. And this is just the first output. Many more will come. But that is not the real excitement, you know. The real excitement is this. Even with the small portion that we've been getting from large-scale mining companies since 2022, many people don't know, but that gold is not given to the Bank of Ghana or the PMMC, now Gold Board, in Ghana. That gold is sent outside the country, refined in refineries outside the country, and then sold to Ghana in a form of bullion, refined gold. So we don't get to refine the gold in our own country to retain that value. The refining fees here, the refining charges end up in multinational banks outside Ghana. Now, the reason why this is a game changer, that this gold has come in a form of Dory, raw gold. We will assay it here. We can and will refine it in Ghana. So the refining charges will stay here. If we buy it, the silver is ours. It will stay here. We will decide what to do with the silver. And this will not only lead to reserve accumulation, but also create jobs and many other opportunities for Ghanaians.
My colleague Fatau Bayaga has been following this development keenly and joins me in studio with more. Fatau, engineers and planners, was also part of this engagement. What did they say after handing over the gold to government?
So the lawyer for engineers and planners, Bobby Banson, expressed gratitude to the Gold Board and government for supporting them up to this point. He said that they will continue to work with government to ensure that the nation's reserves are strengthened so that to support the country's economic development. Apart from that, he says that if this continues, if gold prices remain competitive, they would be ready to support the government with more gold. But he said one critical thing, he says that other mining firms should support this particular initiative to strengthen the nation's economy. Let's listen to him.
When we first made the approach to acquire the mine, but we all know what happened. But it's never too late. This is the beginning of what we hope would be an example to other miners in this country, that this Ghana that we want to build, we can build it in our own small way by contributing to the stability of the economy, building our reserves. And we thank every person that has contributed to seeing this. We have shown that a Ghanaian can do it and do it better and do it for the benefit of the Ghanaian economy. This gold was not taken to anybody's house. It's been handed over to Ghana government through the Gold Board, and the benefit will be for all Ghanaians to experience in the near future, not far from now. Thank you very much. And we can assure you of our continuous supply, as long as the prices are competitive, like you said, so that the benefit of giving such large-scale mine to a capable Ghanaian will be for all of us to see and for generations to come.
And the head of gold management at the Bank of Ghana, Paul Blebu, also addressed the gathering. What exactly did he say?
He was filled with so much excitement because he says that they've been working with other mining firms over the years, but they've not had this kind of support. In fact, he describes this as unprecedented, and that it will help to strengthen the country's city and also make the economy boom to support local growth.
Event or moment for Dama Mine to has brought in 110 kg. So we have dealt with other mines, but then we've not seen this kind of support before. We know that this gold is going to go a long way to boost our gold holdings, at the Bank of Ghana, and to ensure the currency stability as we are currently witnessing.
The Ghana Education Service has banned all teachers and supervisors implicated in the 2025 BEC malpractice scandal from participating in this year's exams as it intensifies its crackdown on examination irregularities. Speaking ahead of the 2026 exams, Director General Professor Ernest Kofi Davis made it clear that individuals currently facing sanctions over last year's infractions will be completely excluded as authorities tighten the knot on examination irregularities.
At least 46 cases involving teachers and invigilators are currently under investigations by the Ghana Education Service, stemming from the 2025 BACE. The infractions range from 17 mobile phone-related breaches to 13 instances of prepared answers and 6 cases involving external assistance.
We have mobile phone-related offenses, 17 of them. Distribution of prepared copies of answers, 13 cases. Solving question for candidate, I have 6 cases. Possession of unauthorized materials, I have 4 cases. Organized coordinated malpractice, I have 3 cases. Leakage, I have 1 case. Financially motivated practice like bribe, I have a case we are looking at. And then dictating answers, I have a case before us. We have 8 of them who were in prison.
Director General Professor Ernest Kofi Davis, speaking at a media briefing at the service headquarters, says these invigilators or teachers are blacklisted.
I wish to remind all supervisors and regional directors of education that all teachers and supervisors who were linked to examination malpractice last year and are being processed for sanctions are banned.
On school selection, candidates will be required to choose 8 schools, including 2 Category A options, one of which must be within the candidate's locality as part of efforts to ace placement challenges.
This year, we've given them the chance to pick 8 schools. 8 schools in the sense that now they are going to consider 2 Category A schools, 1 boarding and 1 day within their vicinity. The other change is that instead of in the previous arrangement, they were given the opportunity to choose 2 Category B schools, 2 Category C schools, and 2 schools as they that are not Category A. Now, we are giving them the opportunity to do that choice of day Category B and day Category C.
The 2026 BEC is scheduled to run from May 4th to May 11th, with a total of 620,141 candidates expected to sit the examination. Reporting for Joy News, Collins Frimpong.
August Kwabla Kotoka Dovolo from Keta in the Volta region says, I want to advise senior high school and junior high school students across the country to remain focused and determined as they write the ongoing examinations so they can come out successful in life. However, I also want to urge all citizens to pray for President John Mahama and his ministers. And Nana Equiamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says the president and his ministers are only trying to divert attention from the fact that doomsday occurred long before the fire outbreak that destroyed those turbines. Government should be truthful to Ghanaians about the state of affairs and not play tricks on us. Musa Abattoir in Aswasi in the Ashanti region says President Mahama's decision to visit the Akosombo substation is a step in the right direction. The support from engineers to restore power is commendable. Let's all support the government in its effort to restore power to normalcy, because he has done it before and can do it again. You can also be a part of the conversation by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. Now to illegal mining now, because the National Anti-Illegal Mining Secretariat, NIMOS, has apprehended a foreman on an illegal small-scale mining site at Achim Moso near Jaso in the Asante Achim South District of the Ashanti region. And following a targeted enforcement operation conducted along the Kume River across the lands of Moso, Chechebiase and Bima. According to NIMOS, the suspect, identified as David Bobie Peter, disclosed during questioning that he is an elder at the Church of Pentecost branch at Konongo. When Joy News reached out to the Church of Pentecost, the church was unable to confirm that indeed the man involved is a church elder. The arrest comes barely a week after the Church of Pentecost Chairman Apostle Eric Nyamicha stated that the pollution of water bodies due to illegal mining has forced the church to abandon traditional river baptisms in many mining communities. And Gemma, you've been going through that particular statement regarding this development. What more do you have?
So, NIMOS says the operation commenced when the task force descended on a sprawling illegal mining enclave at Tichebiase, where several youth were caught actively engaged in mining activities at the time of the surprise raid. Upon citing the aggressive advance of the task force, the illegal miners scattered in all directions, abandoning their mining equipment in a frantic bid to escape arrest. And we are able to speak to the spokesperson for NIMOS, Appiah. When we get him on the line, we'll get more on the story. But in another development, police at Jakobu in the Amansa Central District of the Shanti region have arrested 10 illegal miners undertaking mining activities directly under high-voltage electricity pylons on the Esikaso-Obuase Highway. The activities of the illegal miners could potentially plunge the entire Obuase and Amansia areas into total blackouts. My colleague Ohemi Teria joins me now on the phone line with details. Ohemi, how did the police make this arrest?
Yes, Gemma, a team of about 8 police officers were on a normal patrols along the Esikesu-Obuasi Highway when the chance upon these illegal miners busily operating under these ECG high-tension poles. So when police approached them, they did not even run away from police presence. Usually, that as it has been happening in most of the Galamsey operations. So police arrested 10 suspects. And at the time of the arrest, the devastation caused by these illegal miners could measure or can even be compelled to the 10 football pitches of standard football pitches, 10 of them. So you can imagine the destruction caused by these illegal miners. They were arrested and detained at the Jakobu District Police Command, and they have been charged for mining operation or mining without license, contrary to Section 99 2A of the Minerals and Mining Act. And these 10 persons have been put before the Obuasi Circuit Court today.
Thank you very much. Ohime Teria is my colleague in the Shanti region.
And Pakwesi Shandoff is the Director of Communications at the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry and also speaks for NIMOS. Pakwesi, how and why did NIMOS arrest just one man after you saw several of them at the illegal mining enclave at Chechebiase?
Also, Ken, it's not the case that NIMOS deliberately decided to focus its operations or target a single individual. Indeed, in that particular enclave, the focus of NIMOS was to immediately get whoever is the foreman or the principal instigator in the area, and the person in question became the church elder in that respect. And so it was not targeted, neither was it deliberate. At best, we could say that it was simply circumstantial.
Right. And what happens to the rest of the illegal miners? Have you arrested any of them yet?
Absolutely. I mean, a good number of them, indeed. Latest by tomorrow, will offer further and better particulars on that particular development. Because as I speak to you, there's another ongoing NIMOS operation within that same particular region and that same district. And so we'll furnish the public with the relevant number of arrests and all other peculiar details shortly.
Today, across various platforms in Ghana, you see Pentecost elder attached to the name of the suspect who was arrested. People are raising concerns that this is a deliberate calculation by NIMOS, following the criticism from the chairman of the Church of Pentecost. That is why you deliberately decided to label him as a Church of Pentecost elder, because prior to this, we never hear the church's illegal miners attend. Why did you do that, first of all, identify them as Pentecost church elder?
Well, first of all, it's important to put on record that the comments of the respectable preacher, the leader of the Pentecost church, his criticism was one that the ministry truly regarded. Indeed, we had cause, and I had cause on my social media platforms to indicate that the ministry receives the comments in good faith, and we are excited about the fact that he's contributing to the discourse on illegal mining. And so it cannot be the case, logically, maybe we should do the logical extrapolation. It cannot be the case that we indicate in one breath that we are open to criticism, and in another breath we are strategically, trying to muddy the church. That is one thing we would never do. Even as a spokesperson of NIMOS, as the one who fronts NIMOS's communications, there is no way we would deliberately want to dent the image of a respectable institution like the Pentecost Church or any other church for that matter, especially when the religious community are integral to a fight against illegal mining. The reportage out there, as has been couched, of course, was not with the instrumentality or endorsement of NIMOS. The operations of NIMOS sometimes are accompanied by pressmen and journalists, sometimes even citizen journalists in the areas where the operations actually happen. And so that is how come we have what we have. But I want us to also look at it, from this particular perspective. We all agree that over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of conversation about the respectable Pentecost church and, all of that. We know. And so whoever was reporting would naturally be inclined to, as it were, draw in the connection.
Pakwesi, are you now trying to blame journalists for saying that he's a Pentecost elder? Who did he reveal his identity to? Is it to NIMOS or to journalists? And who arrested this man?
No, so during interrogation, when you are arrested, the questions are very obvious. That, for example, if you, Ken, were apprehended, you would be asked, where do you work? What do you do? These are basic questions. And so it was in the course of the interrogation that he made that particular indication, which subsequently pressmen carried. I mean, the engagement was pretty simple, as far as I'm aware.
Because Pakwesi, going through the statement that was released by NIMOS, it was stated in categorically by your statement that he is an elder at the Church of Pentecost, and journalists reported what was captured in that statement.
I didn't get you.
I'm saying that during the statement that you released to confirm his arrest, it was stated by NIMOS that he is an elder at the Church of Pentecost. So journalists just reported what was stated in your statement.
Which statement? The statement I undersigned as the spokesperson and director of communications?
Yes.
Because no, certainly not. I mean, Ken, when I issue statement, I think you're one of the first people who would normally see them. You may want to check the statement that you're making reference to again. You would clearly see that it was not signed off by me. Anytime I issue statements, or we issue statements, I should say, I properly undersign them. But look, I think I want us to even move away from this entire conversation, because the truth of the matter is that government is not in any way deliberately wanting to antagonize the Pentecost Church or mischaracterize their reputation or dent their image whatsoever. It is, I'm saying, that because of the prevailing circumstances or the existing circumstances, people who are reporting the issues would want to draw some connections. But it does not in any way mean that government is deliberately wanting to, as it were, muddy the reputation of the respectable institution of the Pentecost Church. And so if we may, we want to move away from that and then focus on the core issue, which is illegal mining, which the church is willing to support, and government also embraces their support.
Pakwesi, thank you very much. I still have that statement here, though, which indicates that he's a Pentecost elder coming from Naimos. But let's do business. And George Wiafe is here with the latest. George?
So we're still trying to get more from the Bank of Ghana's account. But if you go, as of now, I'm trying to go through their website. There hasn't been any final release of their 2025 financials, but what the majority in Parliament, they are revealing that the Bank of Ghana's net equity position has improved marginally to hit 35 billion cedis for last year, as it is also expected to report an operational loss of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. And partner at Deloitte, that is your lot, raises concerns about the current economic gains not translating into job creation. We're getting you more details from Joy Business's Economic Roundtable that is earlier today. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Mappe. Et mappé. Hey, Asamo! French idiot. This is a midi croissant.
Meet Ajah. She makes sobolone in a small shop in Kaswa. She's going places with MTN Ejumapa. Now, she's learning French kakra to teach her francophone customers indigenous recipes.
Watashi no namae wa.
Watashi no na. My boy.
Whoa. She's learning Japanese too? Watash. What? If you're a woman with a small business, join MTN Ejumapa today by dialing *5060# and enjoy 150 megabytes data, a lifestyle bundle for social media, free MTN to MTN calls every Monday, and an insurance cover. You will also gain access to expert training, discounts on digital tools, and financial support to grow the business of your dreams. Terms and conditions apply. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number 1. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, We do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start. Every mosquito started run away.
This advert is FDA approved. Enjoy homemade taste of Shito always with Didi Shito. Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. Natural we taste, spicy we eat.
Didi Shito, if you do need. This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the majority in Parliament has revealed that Bank of Ghana's net equity position improved marginally to hit 35 billion Ghana cedis for last year. This is compared to the 61.3 billion cedis reported in 2024. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
According to the majority in Parliament, the Bank of Ghana is expected to report an operational loss of 15.6 billion cedis for last year, compared to the 9.4 billion cedis. This is more of an assessment of the total value of Bank of Ghana's assets minus its liability. The majority also, during the press conference earlier today, revealed that the Central Bank of Ghana is expected to report an operational loss of 15.6 billion cedis, representing a significant spike from the 9.4 billion cedis in 2024. Other comprehensive income recorded a charge of 19.32 billion cedis. This, the majority says, reflects the impact of a stronger cedi of the bank's foreign reserves. The majority has maintained that the expected loss is as a result of the cost of keeping inflation low from its open market operations, which represented a cost of more than 16 billion cedis. It has also maintained that the ability of the central bank to perform its regulatory functions have not been affected in any way, whilst its core mandate of keeping inflation low have indeed been realized.
And that is a Business Desk report. Let's get the thoughts of an economist and professor of finance at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor Seram Karo. He's been speaking to Joy Business about the financials as reported by the majority in Parliament.
On the loss for 2025 by Bank of Ghana is something that if you understand the financial system and the operations of Bank of Ghana, then you will not be so much worried about a loss. We can look at it from the perspective of the issue of the Bank of Ghana not being a profit-making entity. And they also fight inflation. And in fighting inflation, you need to spend money. These bills come at a cost. It's a way of mopping excess liquidity from the system. And it comes at a cost because the bank will have to pay interest on this amount to those investors in this area. And for that matter, that is what happened with the Bank of Ghana.
And that is the thoughts of an economist and professor of finance at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Seram Kawa, responding to the financials of 2025 Bank of Ghana as announced by the majority in Parliament. Now, the Bank of Ghana has cautioned that the fight against inflation has not yet been won despite the current low levels. At the launch of the 2025 annual inflation report in Accra, First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zakari Mumuni, delivered a stark reminder that the dangers inflation poses to the economy and livelihoods.
Inflation is as violent as a maga, as frightening as an armed robber, and as deadly as a hitman. Ronald Reagan. As we reflect on the words of Ronald Reagan, the former president of the United States, we will continue to work closely with the Ghana Statistical Service and other stakeholders to ensure that our policy decisions are informed by best available evidence.
Dr. Zakari Mumuni is the first deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. Now, partner at accounting and financial services firm Deloitte Yaulati has raised concerns about the current economic gains not translating into job creation. Speaking on Joy Business's Economic Roundtable program, Ms. Yaulati noted that the development should give managers of the economy some sleepless nights.
So the growth is happening in a sector or sectors that are not generating jobs. And so you see on unemployment, it stays staying flat. So it's just a steady reduction in unemployment. We are not having significant reduction in unemployment. Same with employment. We are not having significant increase in employment, just a steady increase in employment because of the picture that I've just painted. That the growth that we are seeing is a growth that is not creating jobs. So we have it as jobless growth because the sectors that are supposed to drive economic growth are lagging or are contracting. That means that you are growing, but you are not creating jobs.
Partner at accounting and financial services firm Deloitte, that is Yaulati. He was one of the panelists at the Joy Business Economic Roundtable earlier today. A multimedia group in partnership with the Greater Accra Poultry Farm Association is set to host a special May Day egg sale aimed at making poultry products more accessible to the public. The one-day event is scheduled for tomorrow, Friday, and will run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Joy FM's car park here in Accra. Head of Sales and Marketing at Multimedia Group, Max Fuga, has been speaking to Joy Business ahead of these sales.
The second edition of the Joy FM Adum TV egg sales, which we are doing in collaboration with the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. First of all, is to celebrate the hardworking Ghanaians. Tomorrow is May Day, and so we are calling it a May Day edition. We want them to buy the eggs, fresh eggs, at unbeatable farm gate prices. And we are doing this at the forecourts or at the car park of Joy FM. So wherever they go tomorrow, whether they are marching or whether they are home, wherever they are, Joy FM, in collaboration with the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association, is making it possible to buy eggs at unbeatable prices.
So that's the head of sales and marketing at Multimedia Group, Max Fuga. And Ken, tomorrow I know you'll be there. The last time I saw you carrying plenty crates into your car. So we'll be looking forward to that fresh eggs for you tomorrow.
Indeed. Thank you very much, George.
Him?
Oh, he has a lot of money, so don't worry. Right. I mean, you should trust Ken.
That is never true.
He was talking about investing in some blue chip company.
That is never true. You know that's not true. Thank you, George. Let's do sports. Benaya is here.
Now, indigenous mining and engineering firm engineers and planners have paid $2 million out of $85 million commitment to the Black Stars Fundraising Committee. The contribution highlights growing corporate support towards Ghana's World Cup campaign. Other institutions that have donated to the fundraising efforts include First Bank, GT Bank, First Atlantic, Timeline Innovation, and the Petroleum Commission. Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Thomas Ampemnyako, has urged the general public to contribute to the fund and also called on companies that have pledged to honor their commitments.
Institutions, companies, and individuals who pledged to redeem the pledges. If you pledged 5 million, it doesn't mean if you are willing to give us more than 5 million, we won't take it. So even though you made pledges, there is still opportunity to up your pledges and pay more to support our Black Stars. May God bless all of you. May God bless your businesses. so that you'll be able to support more worthy causes in the interest of Mother Ghana. Thank you.
So that's the Deputy Finance Minister there. So that makes it over $14 million that have been raised towards the national fundraising campaign so far. So when are we getting
How much do we need?
They are targeting about 13 million.
$30 million dollars or cedis.
Did you ask me when you are getting mine?
Yeah, when
but
are
I've
we
told you
getting
before, never. Why should I pay money for somebody to go and watch football in America, Canada,
And
Mexico,
World Cup.
and they'll not go anywhere?
Oh,
Oh,
so
please.
what are you trying to tell us?
Please have faith in the Black Stars.
You see, I keep saying that. It's always the hope that kills you. We are not going anywhere. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Gemma says have faith. Gemma has faith.
Let's see. Thank you.
Well, tonight, international relations experts are demanding the African Union to move beyond statements and consider concrete action to curb the violence and protect foreign nationals. The latest wave of attacks, including forced closures of foreign-owned shops and reported assaults, has triggered widespread condemnation across the continent. Security consultant Dr. Victor Doke is among those calling for tougher regional sanctions against South Africa.
You would expect that you have key figures in the AU, not only AU, but let's look at how sub-regional bodies, all of those sub-regional bodies will come together as one, because you're talking about what? The Pan-Africanism, the spirit behind it, the unity, right? After all, Ubuntu and all of that. We need to show that solidarity, that force. So it wouldn't be just one organization coming in. Now, if we are able to do this, then the South African authorities, okay, the political elite will see the seriousness of, various organizations and then the citizenry at large.
Will it be too extreme, considering how tourism is such a big part of the South African economy? Will it be too extreme to consider a travel ban that is backed by AU, for example, do not travel to South Africa?
If the situation persists, that is an option. If the situation persists, that is an option.
Now, Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission and longtime UN diplomat in South Africa, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, says mere diplomatic statements will not address the growing tensions. He spoke to Evans Mensah on PM Express.
People may be forced to defend themselves. And if that happens, we would be having a bad luck. We don't want that. If the situation persists, that is an option. Then now you can talk about linking it to SADC, the South African
Economic Community.
They also have to come in, issue some sort of sanctions if the situation persists, and then other African nationals are, living in fear. Then these are all options, which is very, very doable when it comes to conflict prevention. And you wouldn't want these politicians coming in if you're a South African, because then you would use their interventions against them to say you would either vote against them. And because the political elites do not want to lose their elections, let's remind ourselves the funds that will go in, the energy, the resources that will go into these elections.
Now, choosing a Mother's Day gift every year can be a daunting task, and we've discovered many of you still haven't settled on something meaningful and memorable. But here's a little secret. We've been asking your mothers, and here's what they had to say.
Well, actually, I don't expect anything apart from just them praying for me. That's the most important thing.
Even when he wakes up, he tells me, Mommy, happy Mother's Day, I'm okay.
Just me being on bed and my children come around me. Mommy, happy Mother's Day, we love you as it is. That's even a great joy to me.
I expect some little gifts, then also some confirmation and some, motivations.
Now, once that just can be a dance with your mother. Perhaps your busy schedule has robbed you of those special bonding moments you once cherished. Why not make time to relive them? Your super station, Joy 99.7 FM, is making this possible at a special event dubbed Mother's Day Out on the 9th of May 2026. The event will take place at the Crown Forest, and Kwame Dadzi of Joy Entertainment shares more details on how you can be a part of this unforgettable moment.
On that special day, it's all about coming together with mothers and making them feel very, very special. Most times we hang around maybe in Accra and all that, but this time around, It is special because we are also moving outside the capital city, go and enjoy that serene atmosphere over there, and then also enjoy the recreational activities that they have. We're taking them to the Crown Forests, and that is located in Gomwa Swayim, a beautiful place. We're going to have activities like squat biking, we have dance competitions, more food as well, live band music, and then a safari tour as well. So this Mother's Day is a very special one here for mothers. Just make sure you come with your mom, because you can't just let your mom come there alone. It's 1,500 Ghana cedis, and then single, it is 800 Ghana cedis. Just make sure you come with your mom, because you can't just let your mom come there alone.
That's it for News Now. But before we go, a few of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Major One in Kumasi says, what Ghana is currently experiencing with regard to power and fuel should tell all right-thinking NDC and MPP activists that it is pointless to politicize these issues since they do not have absolute control over them. Charles from Legon says the MPP must persuade Ken Oforiatta to return home and account for his stewardship. Sam Bannerman says installing the Gridco control room in Akosombo to restore service is sufficient. Individuals who were on duty when the fire occurred must be thoroughly investigated but not granted automatic employment. Isa Tanimu from Boko says President Mahama's move to replace the band control center with modern equipment will not only fix the damage but also upgrade Ghana's entire power management system. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Don't forget to do the 2 this evening. Brush your teeth day and night with Pepsodent. Have a good evening.